hope you're ready for some math this morning and you have your energy level there. Let's start with prayer and we'll go over some information. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. I thank you for Grace Christian School and our students. I pray you bless them there as they're studying at home. Help them to get the concepts and remember them so they'll do well on quizzes and tests. Please help me to explain things well so it'll be understood. I pray that you'd help us to love you more today than we ever did before, because the more we love you, the less we'll mess up. And I pray you'd help us to live in a way that be pleasing to you. Thank you for answering our prayers. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, hopefully you've got your books out, and we're going to go over homework last night, page 92. You'll see I have a bunch of stuff up on here on the board. We have some review doing today. You have a quiz tomorrow, so let's make sure we understand all the concepts and the words and the things that are going on with that. So hopefully by now you got your book open on page 92, and let me give you the right answers there. Remember, again, if you have them wrong, just put a little X there just for your own information. Put down the right answer and then go back and work the problem to make sure you can get to that right answer, especially before tomorrow, okay? Number one, write the decimal equivalent of 118% is 1.18. Find what percent 9 is of 12. That'd be 9 over 12. Reduce it to 3/4, which we already know is 0.75. Move your decimal over, so 75% is your final answer on number 2. Number 3, find the percent of decrease from 250 to 225. Anytime you see decrease or increase or more or less, you've got to subtract before you find your percent. Got to find the difference between the two, okay? So on this one, you would have gotten 25 over 250, which will reduce down to 1 over 10, and that's just 10%. And are we finished? Like yesterday, I drove you crazy saying increase, decrease, so you've got to write 10% decrease to get all your points, so make sure you do that. Okay, write 60 out of 80 as a ratio. Write the ratio as the percent. 60 colon 80. You can reduce that to 6 colon 80, and then 3 colon 4, and then you have 75%, okay? So write the ratio as a percent. Whenever it says write the ratio, you've got to use colons or the word TO, so you can see that is a ratio that we're talking about, okay? All right, number 5, find the greatest common factor for 24 and 30. Okay, you should have written 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. That's for 24. And then for 30, you should do it in 2 times 3 times 5. Do these look familiar? I went over them yesterday. Okay, and we're doing greatest common factor. You circle this direction and take the number 1 time. Okay, so the only things they have in common is a 2 and a 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and that's your greatest common factor. The least common multiple for 8, 10, and 12. So 8, you should have done 2 times 2 times 2. Let's do this one on the board, because I know sometimes y'all get confused. You notice I widened it up, so hopefully you can see everything here. Okay, so for 8 equals 2 times 2 times 2. 10 equals 2, I'm going to move it out, times 5. And what was the other number? 12. There we go. I can't find the numbers. 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 and 3 is 12. Okay, there we go. We're doing least common multiple. This is the one with the game, so you've got to find out which one is the winner, okay, and use all the winner's numbers, okay? On greatest common factor, we only use the numbers once that they have in common. But in least common multiple, the winner, you use all of the numbers, okay? So on A, we have 1, 2, 3. This one only has 1, this one has 2. So this is the winner, and this one loses, that one loses, and that one loses, okay? And then, is there anything else? Nope, there's not anything else in common. So it'd be 2 times 2 times 2, which you already know is 8, okay? And then we have to take this number 5 and this number 3. So 8 times 5 is 40. And 40 times 3 is your least common multiple, which would be 120. Okay, so number 6, least common multiple is 120. If you have any questions about least common multiple, greatest common factor, be sure you email me before tomorrow. and let's work on it. Number 7, complete this proportion. 16 over 7 equals 80 over something. And just like we've done before, we say, what times 16 will get me to 80? And we know it's 5, so 17 times 5 equals 85. So 80 over 85. Number 8, round off this number to the nearest cent. Remember, you got to make it look like money. So it's $173.09. It does round in this case. Sometimes it won't. You have to look at the thousandths. 10, 100, thousandths. Thousandths will let you know if the hundredths is going to change. Number 9, write 7,014,065. And let me just say digit for you. It's going to be a 7, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 4, 0, 6, 5. So hopefully you got that. And then divide this number by 100. You should not have to do any kind of math. Just think about your decimals. If you have 2 zeros, if you're dividing, your number is going to be smaller. Okay? So you've got to move your decimal in the direction that will make the number smaller. Okay? So on 16, if you move it 2 times to the left to make the number smaller, because you had 2 zeros in 100, your answer is 0.16234. Okay? You just think through that. That's not really hard. Remember, when you divide, it's smaller numbers multiplied, you got bigger numbers. Okay, hopefully you got that. You should be rolling out your notebook paper by now if you already don't have it out, because this one I asked you to do on notebook paper. So on page 93, at the top, number 11, when you divide 463,188 by 638, your answer is 726. Okay, on number 12, you should have gotten 158.408096. This multiplication table will have lots of decimals. In your first row you had 3, in the second one you had 3. When you add those together, you have to move it over 6 in your answer, and so make sure you take time to do that. All right, on number 13, the answer is $1,125. On number 14, don't forget your dollar sign. Number 14, 24 is what percent of 40? Okay, you're looking for a percent in your answer. And remember what I said, anytime you're looking for a percent as an answer, small divided by large. So 24 divided by 40, or you could have put 24 over 40 and reduced it and got 60%. Okay, on 15, you had to find a common denominator. Least common multiple helps you with that. And so when you find that and add all these together, you should have gotten 20 and 11/24. So 11 over 24. Number 16, again, you have to find your common denominator and subtract. We just did an addition, so don't get in such a hurry that you think, oh, I'm adding. Pay attention to your signs and subtract on this one. Should be 3 and 8/9. 8 over 9. Number 17 is 35 with 10 over 17, or 10/17. Number 18, you have to make it into an improper fraction and multiply straight across, and then change it back into a mixed number, 43 and 5/9. On number 19, so make your mixed number into an improper fraction, common denominator, add them together, and then subtract them from 20. When you subtract from 20, you're probably going to have to borrow. Remember on this one, if you subtract from a whole number, let's say we have 20 minus 7 3/4. You've got to have a 3/4 to subtract from, so you can change this to 19 and 4/4. Why did I pick 4/4? Because here's the common denominator. Okay, and this is still the same as 20. Remember, 4 over 4 is 1, and so we've got 20. And now you can subtract 7 and 3/4. Okay, I don't remember really what your number was there, but this is how it works. Okay, hopefully you remember that from earlier in the year when we did all the adding and subtracting of fractions. All right, if you were here, I'd say raise your hand if you got 100%, and I hope everybody is able to raise their hand on that. So if you have any questions, give me a call or email. All right, real quick, I know you've done this a lot, but today we're going to be talking a lot about changing from a fraction to a decimal. So we got to practice our decimal equivalents again. Okay, so here we go. On this first one, And again, say it out loud so your parents know you're really learning it. You're listening to your video. All right, on this one, you've already got it, 0.04. This one, 0.0925. I'm gonna mix them up a little bit. This one, 1.3. 0.73. I wish I could actually hear y'all doing this. We earned some candy here. 0.07. This is easy, just a 5. If it's on 100 on the bottom, you just take the top number. 0.23. 0.19. 0.025. Hey, I didn't think about this. Y'all could try to beat me. See if you can say it faster than I do. 0.105. Y'all do it so fast. 0.082. 1.53. 0.0575. 0.01. Are you beating me? 0.033. 0.256. You've been looking at that one for a while. And 0.727. Okay, that's all going to be helping you as we review for your quiz tomorrow and do our lesson today. Look up here at the board. I really want you to pay attention to the wording. Okay, a lot of times I'm here so I can kind of explain things when you're taking your quiz if it doesn't quite make sense. So I want to make sure that you look at this wording because this is how it's going to be tomorrow. On this first one, it says find 12% less than 50. Well, when you see less, you know you have to subtract, okay? Don't forget your subtraction. So 100 minus 12, easy math. Y'all can do that all day long. 88%. Change it into 0.88 before you do your math, okay? And less than 50. So you bring your 50 down. I just hung my 0, and then 5 times 8 is 40, 44. Move your decimal over twice, because this is 2 here. Move it over twice, and you have 44 as your answer. Remember, do not show your zeros. You know, if you just had this and did the math, that's what it would look like. I just did it with an arrow. But when you put your final answer up there, just leave off your zeros. Any zeros after your decimal, you know, you've heard me say a lot of times, you don't show them, okay? Now, look at the wording. Find 12% less than 50. Don't let that throw you tomorrow when you go, oh, how do I do 12% less? Okay, same thing with more. Okay, if we said find 12% more than 50, guess what? We would still follow the same principles, but instead of subtraction, what would we use? Everybody said addition, okay? So you'd still do the same thing. You'd go 100 plus 12, then you would have 112%. Move your decimal over twice, and then you'd be multiplying by 1.12 times 50, and then you would have the more, okay? This is 44% less. This one would be, the answer would be whatever it is and more, okay? Look at the wording, find 12% less than 50, or find 12% more than 50. More you add, less you subtract, okay? All right, on the next one, find percent of decrease. Okay, we're not just finding a percent, but we also have to find a decrease. All right, so anytime you see decrease, you're going to have some subtraction. Anytime you see decrease or less, or they lost money, or it was a discount, in your brain you should always see those numbers going down, which you're going to have to subtract. Okay, so on this first one, I put a first here because what you want to do first is find the decrease and then find the percent. Okay, so over here if we had 30 to 10, what is the decrease between 30 to 10? So we're going to subtract those two. 30 minus 10 equals 20. You see it right here. Subtract 30 minus 10 is 20. And then you take your original number as your base. We talked about this before. So 20 over 30, we can drop the 0. Now we have 2/3, and you already have 2/3 memorized from your chart on page 63, I believe it is. So that would be 0.66 repeating. I just put them out 3 places so you could see if it's going to round or not. So 66 repeating. So when you move your decimal over twice, you have 66.6%. and then this is gonna make it round, so your final answer would be 67%. And to get full credit, what do you need to write? Decrease, okay, a decrease. So 67% decrease. Now, what about the increase? Okay, find the percent of increase, okay? Again, if you're afraid you'll forget, go ahead and write the word increase by your blank, and then do your math and put it in front of it, or put the decrease there. All right, increase means you're gonna have to add something. You have to find the difference, and then you're gonna, I said add something. You're gonna have to find the difference first, and then you'll do it. Here we go, 5 to 6. That was easy math, it's 1, okay? And your base is gonna be your original number. Just like on this one, your base was 30. That's the first number that was given. This one is 5. So 1/5, again, that chart comes out really great if you have it memorized. 1/5 is 0.2. Move your decimal places twice. So you're gonna have to annex a 0. Y'all know how to do that. So it's 20% increase this time, okay? Increase and decrease, you just have to find the difference, okay? What's the difference between the two, okay? So this is a 20% increase, 67% decrease. Hopefully you got all the wording there, okay? On the next one, it says find what percent 12 is of 36. All right, this time it's a straight out find a percent. This one is percent of increase, so you got to do subtraction first, or the percent of decrease. You got to find the difference. Between the two numbers, okay? Find the difference, and then you figure out if it's going up or down by looking at the numbers. We can look at this and tell that from 5 to 6 is an increase. We can look at this and say from 30 to 10 is a decrease. So that's the only part you have to know there. But on this one, they're find a percent, just a percent. Then you do small divided by large. Always put your smallest number under the tenth, large on the outside, or your smallest on the top, divided by your base. So 12 divided by 36, okay, this will reduce to 1/3, and you know 1/3, you have it memorized, 0.3, and I just went ahead and wrote it 3 places, even though it's repeating, 333, so I move my decimal twice, it ends up being 33%, and this does not make it round, so your final answer is 33%. Now this one didn't say anything about increase or decrease, so you don't have to have your number, your word there. On this one it did, so you have to write the word increase, this one, decrease. This one, your answer is just 33%. Okay? Hopefully you understand all that. If you have any questions, be sure and email me and let's talk about it. But you'll see all these on the quiz tomorrow. You'll have some that just say make this number into a decimal equivalent. Some will say make this into a percent. And y'all know how to do that really well. You did well on that on your last quiz. So yeah, I'm sure you'll do well on it tomorrow as well. Okay, our new lesson today is finding the base. When you have a question like this, 88 is 25% of what number? Okay, I always tell everybody, write it the same way you read it. We read it left or right, okay? So when you get ready to write it, 88 is 25% of something, okay? That's the way you would write it. Or you could say 88 is divided by 25%. Now remember, we can't do math with your percent there. I know y'all know that all day long. So when we do this one, we would move it over to 1, 2 right there and get rid of this right here, okay? Well, guess what? 25 on the bottom. Remember, we can get it to 100. So let's multiply and make our things easier. 88 is 25% of what number? Okay? 88 divided by 25%, 88 divided by 25%. We multiply both halves by 4. 4 over 4, that's still multiplying by 1, so we haven't changed it, we're just getting the ratios a little bit bigger. This makes this become times 4, right? It's going to be 100, that's in. Alright, and this times 4 35. So 352 over, we'll find there, that's 1, 2. This is more complicated than this one in this case, okay? I like to do the long division. We'll see how, it comes out to be 352 exactly, because it's over 100, so your answer is 352. Depends on which one you think is easier for you. Long division or doing it this way, okay? So you have 100 on the bottom, so your answer is 352. So 88 is 25% of 352. That's your answer. All right, let's do another one. Okay, 15 is 20% of what number? Again, you can either do 15 is divided by 20%. Now, if you do it this way, make sure you know that you move your decimal over and get rid of this, so you end up with 0.2. And do we show the 0? No. When you get 20%, move it over twice, it would be 0.20. But you don't want to show that 0 when you get ready to do your math. You want to leave it as 0.2 divided into 15. Okay? Or you can do 15 divided by 20%. I really think these are fun because you can go to 100 again. All right? And it saves a little bit of long division. I know y'all love long division, right? So multiply this by 5 over 5. That gives you 100 on the bottom. Excuse me. And then 15 times 5 is 75. So 15 is 20% of 75. All right, some of the same math that we've already been doing, you're just applying it a lot of different ways. Okay, hopefully you still have your book open, and we're gonna read, if you would, read along with me as we see what the book has. It's nice to have those examples there in your book, so when you're at home and trying to work your homework and I'm not there to explain something, you can look back at your example. Okay, on page 93 it says finding the base. If the percent of discount and the amount of discount are known, the original base can be found. Use the steps to find the base when the percent and the percentage are given. Change the percent to a decimal. Divide the percent by the decimal. If the percent is less than 100, the base will be greater than the percent. If the percent is 100%, then the base of the percentage will equal. I don't know if that's clear to you, but we're going to look at the example here in a minute. If the percent is greater than 100, the base will be less than the percent. Okay, look at 16 is 25% of what number? Always just go in the same order. 16 divided by 25% and then make the 25 into a decimal. They did the long division on this one. You can do it that way if you want to. Or on this case, 25 would be your base and you can switch it to 100. But let's look at the long division. They said 25 will go into 16. You have to move your decimal over twice, so you have to annex 2 zeros. And then you see that it'll go into 166 times and then 4. So 16 is 25% of 64. Okay. Notice the caret was moved out, so it's not 0.64, but 64 is a whole number. Okay. And then it shows you here also another way to find the answer to multiply 16 times 4, since 16 is 1/4 of 25%. Or you just change 25% into a fourth and then multiply by 16. All right, let's look at some of these practice problems. Let's do a couple together and then you can pause your video and finish them up and then come back when you're done and we'll check your answers. On the first one, 9 is 15% of what number? Again, 9 is 15%. There would be a percent here, but I'm going to move my decimal over here. Okay, 9 divided by 0.15. Then we have to move our decimal over. Don't forget to do this step. A lot of people think, oh, I can do that, I can remember it, but then you don't write it and you don't see it, and then you get things lined up wrong and end up with the wrong answer. Okay, so make sure you move it over twice, and since there's nothing there to move, I have to annex 2 zeros, and it's gonna be right there if I need it. You may not need it, okay? And then 15 will, sorry, 15 will go into 9, 6 times 90. 6 times 5 is 30, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's exactly 90. So you're at 0, but remember I'm not done yet because I've got to fill up all my spaces all the way to the decimal mark. So that's another reason why it's really important you put your decimal in the right spot. If you didn't have the right spot, you'd think you were done, but we're not, because we have one more space here that has to be filled up, so you bring that 0 up. You do not have to show the decimal in your answer, but it sure comes in handy when you're figuring out how much you have to fill up. And so, as you know, number 1, the answer is 60. Okay? Let's do number 2. You probably already got it done. 66 is 12% of what number? Again, I'm not going to put my percent here because I'm going to put my decimal there. You have to change your percent to a decimal. I know y'all know that, decimal equivalent. Move it over twice. Okay, again, I don't have anything here. There's an implied one right there, but I'm going to annex 2 zeros, and then my decimal is going to be out there. So make sure you do all this nice and clean and clear when you're doing your quizzes and tests, so you'll get it. Okay, and then 12 will go into, won't go into 6, but it will go into 66 5 times. Bring down your 0. Wrap that lined up right there. So 5 over there. 60 again. This time it's 0. Again, if you didn't have your decimal in the right place, you would think you were done because we got to a 0 in the long division. But nope, we still have a 0 right here that has to go into the answer so that you get the right answer. So you got 550 for number 2. Okay, pause the video and do number 3, 4, turn the page and do 5, 6, 7, and 8. And as soon as you finish those, then start your video again, and we'll go over them together. Be sure you're working on your own. Don't just keep going and wait for me to explain it and give you the right answers. You need to really work it, okay? I'll talk to you in a minute or 2 when you're finished. Y'all are so fast. Okay, you probably started your video again. I had to go get a drink of water. All right, so on number 3, again, change your decimals just like you always do. Decimal equivalents. We're going to do 84 divided by, and we have 10.5%. How do we write that? Okay, remember you just move your whole number decimal first, and then pick up this half, which we know is 5. Okay, so when you get ready to divide this, 0.105. Okay, and we have an 84 all by itself over here with nothing over here, so we have to annex some zeros again. So this one goes 1, 2, 3. There's your caret. 1, 2, 3. Make sure you still put your caret there, still put your decimal, in case you have to fill in all those places, and we're going to have to on this one. Okay, so 1 over 5 will go into 140, and there's your first number, 8 times. Look at there, already done, isn't that nice? But if you didn't have your decimal in the right place, you would miss it, because it's not 8, but it is 800. What would you like to get money-wise? You want to get $8, or would you rather have $800? That's why it's so important to get this right. Okay, on the next one, $90. Of course, that one really wasn't money. That was just an example for me to think about. We don't want to mess up on our math. Okay, $90 divided by, remember your percent's going to always go out here. Moving it over twice, it's going to be 1.25%, right? 1, 2, there it is. Move it twice. Again, on this one, we do have one here, but we got to annex 2 zeros to be able to move it from here to here. 75 won't go into 90, but it will go into 900, so your first number goes right here, and that's 7. 7 and 5 is 35. Take 75. It gives you 5 and 2. Bring down your 0. Losing it 2 times. 2 times that is 250. And this time, don't forget your dollar sign, because it is money. Alright, turn the page. On this one, number 5, we already know 50% is half of a number. So you can either divide it by 0.5, or you can take 2,637 times 2. And then you would get 5,274 is your answer on number 5. Number 6, the answer is 528. Number 7, your answer is 140. And number 8, your answer is $111. Don't forget your dollar sign. Okay, let's look at problem solving. There are 12 girls in Mr. Cooper's class. The girls make up 40% of the class. How many students are in the class? Okay, let's reword this. Remember how when we did the review for the quiz tomorrow, I said pay attention to the wording, because the wording a lot of time will help you figure it out. So on this one it says 12 girls in the class. 12 is 40% of what? 12 is 40% of something. Well, we just worked a bunch of problems like this. So if you can take a word problem and re-say it into a formula style like we've been practicing, right up here on 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, it says this number is what percent of this. So that's the same thing we're doing on number 1. So you can follow the same situation again. You can say 12 divided by 40%. It'd go here. We do not use the 0. If you use the 0, it's going to mess you up. Okay? Excuse me. And so then you move it over once, and it's a 0. It'd be there. 4 going to 12. How many times, everybody? 3, 8, 12, 0, and 0. So we have 30 students. How many students are in the class? So there's 30 students. Okay, number 2. They said $15 in sales tax at a rate of 7.5%. How much were her taxable purchases? Okay, again, this is $15 is 7.5% of what? Okay, I said it just like you did this one. Okay, as you're reading, $15 divided by 7.5%. We move it over twice, we have 0.07, and then a half is a 5. So you're going to divide by 0.75. Move it over 1, 2, 3. Move it over 1, 2, 3. Okay, it was originally here. Now we're going to be out here. And then when you do that math on number 3, I'm trying to see what number we were on. No, number 2. You'll get $200. Okay. Number 3, same as the others. 351 is 8% of, because he paid $351 on an airline ticket. That included 8% tax. What was the cost of the ticket without the tax? Okay. So it says 351 is the percent, and 108 is the percent. Percentage and percent. Because remember, you have 351 is 100% of the cost of the ticket. Okay. And then you have to add in your 8% tax. Let's do this one. I'm not sure. I think you can see it better here than listening to me talk. Okay. So the ticket originally was 351. That's 100% of the problem. Okay. But then it says what was the cost of the ticket without the tax? Well, we've got to find out how much it was anyway, and so we take that percent the tax was 8%. You add those two together and you have 108%. Okay? And then you're gonna move your decimal over twice, times 1.08. Okay? Did y'all do that math already? Did you get it all figured out? 1.08 times 351, 379.08. Should have done this myself. It's not 08. Okay. But then this was what the ticket was with the tax in it. Okay. So this is how much it cost with the tax. This is how much it cost otherwise. So to find how much the taxes were, what was the cost of the ticket without the taxes, then you would just subtract and you get the cost of the ticket without taxes, with and without. Okay? Actually, this finds out the taxes. The taxes in this one were $28.08. Okay. That's how you do it if you have to find out the taxes. The taxes with it here, without, and here. So 325 is your final answer. 351 is 8% of a number. Clear as mud on that one. Okay, so what was the cost of the ticket without the taxes? $325. When you take the taxes out of 351 minus the taxes, and then it gives you 325. And then this last one, on number 4, she spent $5.75 for the first day at Calvary Christian Camp. This is 25% of his spending money. How much spending money did he have for the week of camp? Okay, so 525 is 25% of divided by 25%, and we can multiply both of these by 4 to get to 100 on the bottom. Now this is 100. Sorry. So $21.60. Okay. Anybody have questions about the problem solving? A couple of those I had a question about, so if you had a question and didn't explain it well, just let me know. Alright, we're going to keep on going. I want to do the evens and the sharpening skills together. So let's work these together. Find the answers. Number 12. 12 is what percent of 20? And when we're looking for a percent on its own, then we're doing small divided by large. So 12 over 20. Of course, you can reduce that, multiply them both, not reduce. Multiply them both by 40 to get it to 100. 12 divided by 20 times 5, this will get it to 100 on the bottom, and 12 times 5 is 60, and so 60% is your answer. Okay, let's look at number 4. 24 is 120% of what number? 24 is 120% of what number? Okay, this is a percent, so we're going to go 1, 2, put it right there. Get rid of your 0. Okay, move it over once, move it over once, and then when you get ready, finished to do that one, then your answer is 20 on number 4. Number 6. 7 is 5% of what number? Again, read it just like you have it in here. 7 is what percent? This is a percent, so move it over twice. Annex your 0. Okay, this is important, so you get your decimal in the right spot on this side. 1, 2. So I've got to annex 2 over here and fill up all the way to that number. Okay? So 5 will go into 7 how many times? 5 will go into 20 how many times? Lost my place. What are we working on? 7. Number 6. Number 6. Okay. 4. And again, we're not done because you got to bring that up. So you have 140. 7 is 5% of 140. All right. Number 8. We have to get the common denominators here. I want you to pause your video for a moment and work on 8, 10, 12, and 14. So pause for just a moment and then we'll come back and give you the answers on these. Alright, hopefully you're already done. On number 8, you have a common denominator. Let's see, we did 2, 4, 6, yes, 8. Your common denominator is 72. It's a pretty big one. So when you get all of those fractions converted over in equivalent fractions with a 72 denominator, you add them all together. Okay. Number 10, when you subtract, make sure you look at your sign. You're subtracting on this one. Common denominator is 18. So you don't have to do anything with your top number, just the bottom one, and then subtract. You'll get 1 and 11 over 18. Number 12, when you multiply, remember you go to from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction, multiply straight across, and then can reduce it back down to a mixed fraction, and you have 2 2/3. Okay? On number 14, you have to move your decimal over twice, put your caret there, and you have to move it over once and annex a 0, put your caret there, and then when you finish up your division, you'll get $580, not 58. So make sure you put that caret in the right spot. All right, flip over to the next page on 95. Let's look at number 16 together. We're going to do the evens again. On this one, student last year, I'm going to do one for you, and then you can pause and do the next two, and we'll talk about them. Okay, number 16. Student last year was 15. Students this year is 21. Think in your head. 15 to 21. Is it an increase or a decrease? Okay, so it's complete the chart. Find the answer to the nearest whole percent. Label as an increase or a decrease. So first thing I always do is look at it. From 15 to 21 is an increase. So over there in my answer, I'd write increase right now, and then come back and do the math. Okay, so we got to find out the difference first. So the difference between 21 and 15. Do that subtraction. And then you're going to divide by 15, your original number. Okay, remember you have to divide, that's your base, by 15. And when you do that division, you'll end up with 40% increase. Okay, let's look at 18. I think y'all already know how to do this now. 16 to 22, again, is an increase. So write increase in your answer so you don't forget the words. And then subtract 22 and 16 to find the difference in the two. And then put 16 as your base. And when you finish reducing that down as a fraction and do your division, you'll have 38%. And then number 20, again, you look at it, 36 to 33. This time it changed, didn't it? We had a lot more in the beginning, and now it went to 33, so write decrease in your answer, and then come back and do your math. 36 minus 33 is 3. And you can say 3 is what percent of the original number, which is 3 over 36, which will reduce down to 1/12, and then when you do your long division, you end up with 0.083, and then you move your decimal over twice. The 3 does not make it round, so you end up with 8% decrease. Okay, pause your video just for a minute. We're almost done, but I do want you to take some time to work. You know what? I think I'm gonna let y'all do this for homework and give you some time in class to finish up. You may have already paused the DVD and the video and started working it on anyway. Let's look at, for tonight, I want you to do sharpening skills on page 94 and 95. We just did all the evens together, so go back and do the odds on your own. You probably did a lot of those on your own anyway, but do them as your homework, and then we'll go over those in class tomorrow. So 1 through 13, please put it on your notebook paper so you can take as much room as you need to do the changing your common denominators, be able to have lots of room to show how you do that to make an equivalence. And on your long multiplication on number 11, you have plenty of room to come down with your 3 stacks for your multiplication and your long division on 14. And then, of course, on page 95, doing the odds on the chart that we just talked about, you can probably just do those in the book. You may have to do your long division on a piece of paper, but of course you can do the subtraction in your head, and make sure you write decrease or increase. Alright guys, I hope you have a great day, and I'll look forward to, I wish I could see ya, but I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye!